Yeah, John, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to uh, dealing with projection.
Yeah. You got a more specific.
I really don't. I
Yeah.
think I'm actually more leaning towards like positive projection.
Uh-huh.
Negative projection is probably more likely to occur.
Both happen. Both happen.
Yeah,
Both happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have anything real specific. I've just felt it, and I've never really heard anybody speak to it, at least in terms of a men's group is concerned.
Yeah.
So I'd like to
Well,
hear what you have.
let's just start. Like we're going to project our stuff with dad, our stuff with men, our stuff with women, our parental stuff. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. We're going to project on each other. Whether you almost every time you've had a judgment or a resentment to somebody in this group, you're projecting something.
Yeah.
So it's just there, right? So I like to. I mean, I'm glad you brought up the practice, and part of what we're going to work with in this conversation is clearing judgments. There's an embodied practice that we're going to work on next time, because it's important that we get clear that our judgments are almost always projections. Now, once we get clear on that, so the projection is this kind of let's call it the second stage
Yeah.
therapeutic thing. It's connected to our wounds, it's connected to our family, our relationship with men or the masculine. But once you get clear on that, and you're really clear on what your projections are in those arenas, then that third stage, that sacred feedback piece, can start to flow through. If you're unaware of your projections and you're unconscious about projections, the two are going to get intertwined. So that's why just getting clear, like, hey man, I judge you to be a man who ... And then I feel if we were doing a judgment practice, I'd say, I'm judging you to be a man who ... And then I'd close my eyes, I'd feel into my own heart, I'd feel into my life, and I'd find where I do the same thing. And I'd open my eyes and I'd say, just like me, right? And it just frees it. And if I do that enough, all I'm doing is bringing awareness to the projector. And then once I do that, my feedback is more trustable, yeah?
Yeah.
Not just me, like all of us. Like once we're clear, like, oh, this is a projection. This is my father wound. Once we do that, then we can give our feedback with more clarity and more confidence that we're not just dumping our daddy wounds on people or brother wounds or etc.
Right. So what I'm getting from that is the importance of kind of creating a culture that is based on that within a group, so that you can kind of go to the
Well,
third stage.
well, that's a personal choice, and I
Yeah. Okay.
personally think that if you create a culture around projection and judgment, what you're going to get is more projection and
Okay.
judgment,
Yeah.
right? There's a tendency to get what you focus on.
Yeah. Totally.
And so that's why we work so much here on embodiment and feeling the infinite, feeling your heart, right? Because that's, to me, more valuable. But yeah, you've got to have. Let's put it this way: I wouldn't have a men's group without a process of dealing with withholds and judgments, because it's going to come up. And I think we did it twice last year. We did clearings quite twice last year. There's an embodied clearing that I created because I think that if it's not embodied, it doesn't really work.
Yeah. It's
Um,
great. We did it. We did
you
it.
did it, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just think having something, but then you kind of let it go, and you know, I guess the culture I would like to create is ruthless self-reflection. Ruthless self-reflection. And it'll serve us not only in a group like this, but in our relationships, in our relationship in the world.